Last video we learned about the basics of numpy and how we can use to make arrays. It would be quite useful if we could visualize them in a graph like this one. One Python library that allows this is the Matplotlib library. It is a low-level graph plotting library in Python that serves as a visualization utility. Most of the Matplotlib utilities lies under the pyplot submodule. If you want to plot these two arrays on a graph, you use the plot function. The first argument is an array for the points of the x-axis while the second argument for the y-axis. Now to actually plot the graph, you use the show function. The graph we got was a line graph. Let's say we want to show a circle at each point instead of a line. You can add a third argument, which is just a string O, that will plot with circles rather than a line graph. You can also use an X to plot with X instead of a line or a circle. To see a list of ways you can format your plot, visit the link in the description below. You can even format both the lines and your points at the same time. You do this by first specifying the way you want to style your points and then specify the way you point your line. So for example, if I want an X marker and a dashed line, I first type X and then the dash. To see more ways you can format your lines, visit the link in the description. You can use the X label and Y label function to give labels for the X and Y axis. There is also a grid function which adds a grid to your plot. There is an axis parameter which allows you to specify which axis you want the grid to be. You can even add line styles and color to your grid. To learn more about grid options, click the link in the description below. You can even add multiple subplots. You do this by using the subplot function. The first argument is the number of rows, the second argument is the number of columns while the third argument is the index. If the third argument is 1, then it's the first subplot, if it's 2 then it's the second subplot, and so on. You use the plot function to plot each subplot. Now if I run the program, you will see that both subplots have been plotted. There is also a title function which gives a title to your plot. If you want a title for your entire plot, then you can use the supertitle function. The top-level container that contains all the plot elements is called a figure. There is a figure function which allows you to customize the figure. One argument you can give this function is figsize, which you can use to set the width and the height. Another argument you can give is the face color, which customizes the background color of your figure. To learn about more arguments for the figure, click the link in the description. Each individual plot or graph is called an axis. Note that this is different from axis. The figure function returns a figure object, and this figure object has an addAxis method, which adds another axis to your graph and also returns that axis as an object. The addAxis method requires an argument which is an array of 4 elements. The first 2 are about the positions while the next 2 are about the size. The axis has a plot method which makes the plot, and this will only show a line without any labels. In order to add the labels, you use the setYLabel and the setXLabel methods. Let's run the program again and see the change. Now let's say you have a simple plot and want to get its axis. For this, you use the getCurrentAxis function, or GCA for short. You can apply the setX label and setY label here just like we did on axes before. If you want to find about more axes methods, then check the link in the description. So far until now we have been using the plot function to draw a line graph, but we can use the bar function to draw a bar graph instead. There is also a function for pie charts. Here I have two arrays, the second one is the list of fruits, and the first one is how much of the pie chart the corresponding fruit will take up. It doesn't need to add up to 100, their sum will be taken as 100%. The pie function takes the sizes as its first argument, and to add labels, you use the labels parameter. The pie chart starts from here, and moves counterclockwise. If you want one section to stand out, you can use the explode argument. This takes an array which specifies how much each value stands out. Lastly, I will talk about histograms. Histograms is a graph for showing the frequency of data. Here I have an array with a bunch of integers, and I want to create a frequency graph for this array. This is where the hist function comes in. Now if I run the program, I get a histogram showing how many times each value has appeared. That is it for today. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.